Okay, so I don't know whether I'll join these videos up, but the memory card was full, and so I just had to delete some stuff. So what I was saying is when people are sitting at work in the canteen or something like this, just listen to the nonsense that people speak about. Complete and utter rubbish. Doesn't mean anything. Will never get you anywhere in your life. Talking about football, who scored this and who's going to be playing who next, and this nonsense. You know, it's all bread and circus, which, you know, the Romans started a couple of thousand years ago, and now the whole world has, you know, become masters at giving the punter bread and circus. Just give them bread and circus. As long as they've got food in the body and they've got a little bit of entertainment, we can do whatever we want with them. And that's what we do. And then they sell us these bullshit rag mags full of complete shit, and we take that on board as truth, and we go parrot fashioning it to everybody we meet. It's absolutely preposterous, the level of indoctrination and hypnosis that the masses are under. And so people watching my videos, you know this. And so you have to take it some stages further, and you have to look really, really closely at all of your thoughts, why it is you're thinking certain things, why it is you're feeling certain things. If you're watching videos and you become upset about something, oi, I'm making a video, keep it down. Goodness me, can't get no peace around here. It's nesting season, you see, and they're sitting on their eggs, or they're young, and they get a little bit nervous, get a little bit mouthy when you're in their neck of the woods. And so we need to look within, and we need to look without. We need to have a greater level of cognition if we're going to be ascending, if we're going to be heading towards a more joyous life, you know, that we are existing within. You know, there has to become a stage whereby we stop just existing and we start really living and enjoying, because you look around, the vast majority of people, they're just in an existence. That's all it is. And it's just kind of like eat shit and die, when it doesn't have to be like that. And so the people that wake up to the Matrix, there's so many levels, so many rungs on the ladder that you need or may want to ascend upon, and as you do, the Matrix will become more and more clear. It will become so ridiculously farcical that you wonder how you ever swallowed it before. And so as you raise up on the rungs of this ladder of spiritual ascension, you see the whole world in much more clarity. You see yourself in much more clarity. You study yourself. And why are you feeling like this when you watch this video? What is it within your programs? Because it's all you. It's nothing to do with the person that you're watching. And I've said this a myriad of times in my videos, but the vast majority of people, they still can't accept it, because as soon as you upset them, they'll stop watching you. You've triggered them, they're going to go somewhere else because they don't like that. They've got no idea that the triggering that somebody brings about is the most beneficial thing that you can experience if you want to grow. If you don't want to grow, it's the last thing you want to hear. If you want to grow, you need to be around people that trigger you. Because when they trigger you, you have to look within yourselves, what is it now? This person said so-and-so about so-and-so, and I like so-and-so. Okay, we're all entitled to our own opinions. Why do you start now casting aspersions on the person that said something about your friend or something like this? It's all down to personal experience with whatever. He could have had a terrible experience with your so-called friend. He could have perfect right not to like them and want to say certain things about them. Why does that affect you? It shouldn't. If it does, it's because you're not grown enough to make certain realizations about all of this stuff. And so just paste that across the whole board. When you look at something and it makes you feel in a certain way, why? When you hear something, why? When somebody does something to you, why? When you're in a certain vicinity, why? What is it that's making you feel like that? What is it that makes me feel in like a beautiful, calm and blissful state here? It's quite obvious. If you're not carrying the weight of the matrix, and it's kind of like, oh, in half an hour's time I've got to go and work in a factory and pack chickens for the next 12 hours, I'm not going to be enjoying myself too much here, am I? Because this is going to pale into insignificance, because I know it's going to be over soon, and I've got 12 hours, Jesus, 12 hours standing inside a fridge, on a production line. Can't speak with anybody. Even if you could speak with somebody, there's nothing to say. My God, this is how people exist. But if you have a peace of mind and you've got no chickens to pack, then you can see how this can be absolutely beautiful and attractive. And I can sit here for as long as I can stand in the sun, or until I become hungry, whatever. I just sit here and I feel the breeze and I feel the sun, and I look at the dancing of these flowers. Look, every single one of them is dancing. Dancing, dancing. Who is seeing these flowers? Who has seen them? Because people are shit scared to come onto the cliff face like this, and so the chances are nobody has ever seen them. And so who is it for? It's for me. And so therefore I have a great level of appreciation for it. Sure, people can often gaze from down on the beach there up at this purple mass, but they can't see it in the clarity that I can. They can't feel this level of vibration. And this is what it's all about. Life is a vibration, and you have to get into one that's going to make you feel good. And when you're not feeling good, it's because the vibration is of a high agitation, and it's making the physiology of your body go into the fight or flight syndrome. It's tipping your homeostasis, and you've got the adrenaline kicking in, and you've got the cortisol kicking in, and you're out of balance. So we have to bring the balance back. And when you are in balance, like on a beautiful calm sea, it's much more pleasurable than being tossed around in a tempest. We don't want to be in a tempest. We want to be on a calm sea. And so it's things that we need to know. We need to address all of these things that are making us feel like we're in a tempest. And so being around people feeling insecure, look at what you can do about that. How can I make myself feel more secure? Well, it's because when I'm around people and they're intelligent, they make me feel intimidated. Well, start your own educational plan then. Whatever they're talking about, then, you know, start getting involved in those subjects and buying some books and, you know, watching some videos, so you have something to say. You can pass opinion then, because you're sharing the similar knowledge. If people's bodies are beautiful, well, why is that? Because they train their bodies, you know, 5 or 6 days a week, and they monitor their diet and all this sort of thing. Yes. So are you going to do that? You know, you can do that, and then you can start to feel more confident about yourselves. And people can start to look at you, wow, you're looking in good shape, and awesome, whoa, you know, you're up there, aren't you? You know, you've had the dopamine fix. And so if that's what gives you the dopamine, then you'll continue to do that. But if you can't be bothered, then you have to find a level of acceptance that people are not going to be saying these things about you. And in actual fact, on occasion, some of them are going to be saying the things that you don't want to hear. Look at that fat bastard. Jesus, you know, and it's not only what they say, it's that how people look. You know, people can be like, you know, this sort of thing. It says it all, doesn't it? There's 1,000 words in that look. It's kind of like shock, disdain. Ooh, you're grossing me out, man, whatever. If you don't want to be having this effect on people, then there's things you have to do. And that's the fact of this life. You know, it's energy. We have energy, we are energy creating beings. And so what are we going to do with this energy? Are we just going to waste it? Are we not going to do anything with this precious prize that we've got, potentially? Or are we going to start to create? Are we going to start to chisel our bodies? Are we going to start to educate and purify our minds? Are we going to be self-actualizing? Every day you get out of bed and you've got a target to reach because you have an agenda, and the agenda is that you want to learn about this particular subject because it's fascinating. But not only is it fascinating, when you've learnt about this subject, it's a tool that you can use for the rest of your life. Like psychology, it's a marvellous tool. You know, what's the point really in learning about being a computer programmer? Because all that does, it perverts your mind into a completely logical and automated way of thinking. And it takes you away from the very essence that you are, spiritual being. And so you'll no longer be able to think spiritual if you ever did. And if you engage with a computer programmer, then everything's logic and it's all numbers, and if you do this then you get that, and if you get this then you get that, and this, that and the other. And you know, if you ask them about anything spiritual, you know, how many of them would be able to engage with you on that? Because it's completely the opposite polarity, isn't it? And so this is what we need to be careful of. Okay, oh, it's good money in computer programming, but at what cost to your life? At what cost to your spiritual ascension? At what cost to your rational thinking ability? Because you're always going to be in the logical side. And this world, you know, invariably isn't logical. You've got to have the other side of it, which is paradoxical. So you've got to have an equal amount of both, if anything. And so I started off by looking at, you know, practical help. And the practical help simply is know thyself. It's to educate yourself. But it's not just listening to what other people say. And this is one of the things, like I say, because people, they don't seem to have the ability to be able to look and assess and analyse everything. And this is why there's so much trolling going along, because when somebody says something which is, it doesn't have an allegiance with their programs, then all of a sudden Mr. Troll comes out and it's like, you said this and you said that and you're an idiot and you're a shill. And anybody that's got an ounce of intelligence just looks at these people and can only feel sorry for them, really, because they're so far out of the reality. They're so far away from any level of ascension, and yet they're looking at truth-seeking sites, and they haven't got the foggiest clue about any truth. They wouldn't know what truth was if it slapped them in the ass. It's preposterous. There's a great number of people which will never ever ascend to the dizzier heights of the realms of spiritualism, whereby you know what's going on this planet, in this universe, in these different dimensions. You're in tune with it, and you're looking at it, and you have an acceptance for it. Too many automated creatures, NPCs, husks, and all the rest of it. OPs, organic portals, creatures that don't have the ability to be able to ascend because they're not spirited human beings. And I've spoken about this in several other videos. And so this is the thing, you see. I don't know who am I speaking to. Am I speaking to an organic portal here? Are you an organic portal? Have you ever asked yourself that question? Have you ever had any spiritual experiences whereby you know that there's something else other than this body? Have you been in touch with something that you could call God? God consciousness, the essence of God? Because if you've not, then you need to question, am I an organic portal? Could I ever feel these things that these spiritual people talk about? Some of you are spirited people, and you know exactly what I'm speaking about. And if you're anything like me, you want more, because these experiences are marvellous, and they fill you up, they give you purpose, they increase the value of everything. And you just look around in awe and wonder at everything, even the most ridiculous, farcical stuff that's going on in the world. You look at it with great intrigue as to how that come about. What energy is it that's driving this energy en masse? What design is behind it? Is it evil? Or have people just been caught up in their own egoic search for their own empowerment? Because it becomes intoxicating. And they want more and more and more of this power over other people, because it can never be satiated. But when you let go of that, when you release that, and when you're not striving for power anymore, when you're in a level of acceptance, it all looks so ridiculous and preposterous. And I look at these people, billionaires, and I don't envy them in the slightest. Because I absolutely categorically know, because it cannot be, it's illogical, that they have the peace of mind that I have. Can you imagine managing all that money, worrying about it dwindling, you're not making enough, and other people are trying to compromise you and steal your market, and this, that and the other, and somebody's becoming more rich than you and more powerful than you, and they're compromising you and they're getting more followers than you, and on and on and on. What can be more beautiful than sitting in a place like this, completely detached from any of that? Completely detached from bothering what you look like, what people think of you, on and on and on. We have to get over ourselves. We have to raise above ourselves. This body thing. The spirit has to raise above it. It has to educate this body that you're an illusion, body. You see, the ego, it is a false prophet, and it has been led to believe from the moment the body was born that it is captain of this ship, when in actual fact it's not the captain at all. It's barely the deck scrubber in reality, because the thing that is running this ship, the ego knows nothing about, which is the unconscious. The unconscious is running this ship. The unconscious has gathered up every single experience and piece of knowledge that you've come upon in your life, and it hasn't forgotten it. And this can be proven in many, many instances, because when people are doing operations on brains and the surgeon's touching certain parts, stimulating them electrically, then all of a sudden memories will come back from 50 years ago. It's all in there, never been forgotten. But the ego thinks it's the be-all and the end-all, and it knows what's going on here, and it gives this "oh, I am" thing, when it really isn't. It really isn't. The I am is the unconscious. That's what's running the body. Of course, what's pumping the heart? What's creating all the helper T cells? What's managing the body when you're asleep? It's the unconscious. That's what's doing the body. But over and above that, you know, then we have the spirit. And the spirit is the silent observer. And I don't know what part the spirit has to play in this body thing. But sometimes we can touch on this spirit. And it's kind of like, okay, spirit, I touched on you then. How can I touch on you some more? You know, where can I get more information about you, Spirit? Can you tell me how it is? But then when you're speaking like this, who are you speaking to? It's the ego mind that's speaking, and if you're asking, can you tell me, then the only thing that's listening really that can do anything about it is the unconscious, and the unconscious can maybe deliver up something. In your dream, it can give you, wow, I had this dream last night, my old man came to see me. I was standing in my house, sorry, I've digressed. I was standing in a house and I was looking out the window, and my old man walked by the window, and he's looking up in the window because he's been around my house you know, hundreds of times before, and he's often seen me in the window. So he walked round and he looked up in the window like that, and I went, you know, I looked at him, Dad, and then he vanished, and it was so clear. And you think, what is all that about? Is he still there? Is his spirit still there? Did he want to look in on me? Did he want to say something to me? Did he want me to keep him in his memory? Did he want me to try to discern a message from that? His wisdom, what he passed on to me. What can that be? I'll think about it now, I've remembered that. All interesting stuff, people. You know, just to keep contemplating, trying to work out what is actually going on. The spirit is the overseer, and there's no emotion pertaining to it. It's just seemingly this beautiful bliss. That seems what it is, because when you're in it, the deepest of meditations, then you're so calm because you don't have any of the trappings of this world. You're outside of this world for however long you're in the meditation for. And in psychedelics, when you go into another dimension, then it seems so beautiful, and you feel so at one with everything, and you feel as if you know everything that the universe has to show you. All this stuff seems to be somewhere else, and yet we're here, and it's kind of like, why did you leave me here? You know, what, can I come back to you? To the all-knowing, blissful thing what you are? And it's kind of like, no, you have to stay there, in the prison planet, for however long. Wondering when you're going to get parole. Unless, of course, you start to detach yourself from engaging in the prison. You go into a different level of consciousness, whereby if you're in prison, you've got to get up in the morning at a certain time, and you grab your tray, and you go down and you get your breakfast, however you do it, and then you go and mop the floors and all this sort of thing. You can do that, and you can be presently with you when you're doing it all the time. You can think to yourself, oh, here we go again, I'm getting my tray, I'm going down to the canteen, I'm eating porridge, I'm drinking the same old shit, and la-di-da-di-da. Or you can go somewhere else. So if you go into the imagination, then you can be anywhere in the world and you can be doing anything. And so that's something that we can do. But there's something else that you can do. I'm sorry this video's gone all over the place. I never know what I'm going to say, really, people. But what I'm trying to express is that if you can find the joy in being in places like this, then you're getting halfway there, really. If you can find a level of contentment whereby you can sit here, somewhere like this, for hours, without thinking, I'm bored now, I want to go and do something else, because you need the constant stimulation. You need stimulating here, you need stimulating there, but every time you get somewhere, the stimulation isn't enough to satiate you. And this is the tragedy, because we're constantly in search of a stimulation that is already within us, that we're leaving it behind. How we're leaving it behind? Because we're mentally projecting our consciousness in front of us to somewhere else that's going to be satiating us. When I find this lover, when I get this house, when I get this car, when I get another Vista, you know, when I get into a different climate or something like this. Projection, projection, projection. Stop projecting, people. Be present. What's going on now? Look around. Is there anything that I can derive out of this? Is there any beauty? And you start to look around at all these marvellous flowers and just the grasses and the creatures and the wind blowing and the shapes and the shadows and everything about it. All of a sudden it's kind of like, you're already here. You're here now. This is it. It doesn't get any better than this. Being you, here and now, in it. Do you get it, people? Be present. Stop projecting. Stop dragging up shit from the past that keeps you in fear. Forget about everything that ever happened, because the vast majority of it isn't important. Put the importance on today. You see, if you've got friends and lovers, and it's kind of like you've been with this lover for 10 years, and in the first few years it was absolutely bliss and you was in love and you did all these great things, but now it's kind of gone stale and, you know, you're not appreciating each other anymore, but you're hanging on to the relationship because of the past. The past doesn't exist. The future doesn't exist. It's now that exists. And if you're hanging on to a relationship that doesn't serve you anymore because of the past, then you're wasting your lives. Sit down with each other and ask, are we serving each other anymore? We had a beautiful time and we have respect for each other and there still is a certain love, but the beautiful sensations and stimulation's gone out of our relationship. And if that's what you want, then you've got to find it in someone else. If you can't rekindle it within your own relationship, you see? Deep conscious breath. Breathe in and feel your life. When you breathe in a deep breath, you get a little bit dizzy. You feel a little bit detached from the body. If ever you have astral projected, or you are slipping into a psychedelic experience, that's what it feels like. It feels like you are teetering on another dimension. And so therefore then, you get in touch with spirit that way. Spirit. Expire. Inspire. Breathe. You see? Spirit. So breathe in spirit. And I often do this when I'm meditating. I'll do 10 minutes of that deep breathing and I'll get into this dizzy, heightened state of meditation and I'll start to have hypnagogia and I'll start to have these kind of like out-of-body experiences. And when I've been in the meditation for some time, then the DMT realm comes in the shape of hypnagogia, these visions that you get, and often you can find yourself slip into another dimension and you don't know that you're in another dimension until you've come back out of that dimension. And how it works is that when you slip back out of it, you come back into this reality and your consciousness goes, hang on, where was I? Where did I just go? What did I see? I saw some kind of like very, very unusual DMT birds, like hummingbirds, flying around and kind of like feeding on flowers. I didn't know I was in a different world then because I was in it and I had no comprehension of the world I'm in now. But when I slip back into consciousness, I go, where did I go? And when you experience things like that, it's very exciting. It comes out of deep meditation, breathing exercises, a calm mind. And so finally, these Buddhists that have been meditating all of their lives, They know what this is all about. And so, probably some of you, if you haven't already, you might want to start engaging in Eastern philosophy and reading Eastern religiosity, ideology, philosophy, and all this sort of thing, because they've been around the longest. And they've lived such a tranquil, humble, natural life for so long. How could they not know the true reality of it? You see, the fallacy is that we now have science, and science knows this and science knows that, and we mock the Eastern folk with their silly Buddhism and their silly meditation and their silly dream worlds and all this, because we now can look at atoms and we can look at this and that. Forget it. These Eastern folk have been talking about atoms and talking about consciousness and talking about the Akashic records and all this business for thousands of years. And now we're just starting to discover the Akashic records. We're starting to get our heads around that it is a reality. It was the reality before, but now we absolutely can't deny the reality of it, because when we hold up a phone and I'm talking to you and you're on the other side of the world, we have to know that information, transparent information, information that you can't catch in a jar, information that you can't cut with a knife, information that you can't taste or see, is all around the Akashic records. Every single bit of information that's ever been and ever will be is here somewhere, and we tap into that because that's God consciousness, you see. Have a good day, people.